How are you playing life? Are you playing it all out? Are you all in the game? Or are you half in, half out? You sitting on the sidelines watching everybody else do things, or are you in there making things happen? Let me tell you where I used to be. I used to be half in, half out, kind of wanted to be in the game, but wanted to act like I was really in the game, but not really in the game. So, tell you, Camp Boggy Creek was one of my half in, half outs for a long time, and that's a camp for very ill children in Eustis, Florida. And I've been in a relationship for about 10 years now. And for the first 5 years, I only showed up to their fundraising events and would participate just as a participant. And that's fine for some people. But when you just show up for the fundraising because you think, oh, it's a nice camp, they need some fundraising, that's, to me, half out, half in, half out. Especially when I found out what they were doing, because I've participated in enough of these events that I was invited to come back and actually take a tour of the camp and find out exactly what they're doing, which got me invested. It got me involved and engaged. So I'm going to tell you a little story about lightning and how I got struck by lightning at Camp Boggy Creek. So I'm taking this tour of Camp Boggy Creek, which is the camp for severely ill children that would never have a camping experience if it wasn't for the amount of medical staff available at Camp Boggy Creek to the number of campers that come out there in a session. And they're taking me through each individual activity: the horseback riding, the climbing wall, the nature trail, the fishing dock, the swimming pool, all the different activities throughout the camp. And they're explaining to me the purposes behind them and how that relates to the self-worth of a child, especially a child that spends more time in hospitals than they do in a classroom and around other children, and especially around other children that are well children and don't have limiting physical limitations. And it struck me very deeply. But then I went and had lunch with the campers, and I sat next to Kevin. Kevin is a 9-year-old child that was born blind. And on top of that, at the age of 5, he was diagnosed with cancer. And Kevin was out there, this was his second year at Camp Boggy Creek. And his first year at Camp Boggy Creek, when he was 7, his counselor Bill asked him, Kevin, what's one thing that you've always wanted to do, but you've never had a chance to do? And Kevin said, you know what? I've always wanted to run. I think I'm so fast, but I've never been able to run. And Bill processed that for a minute, and he said, wow, that's a doozy, because it could be, he didn't say it out loud, but he thought this could be dangerous for a child to run. And I'm getting this from the camp director afterwards. But Bill took that back and he did process it. And he worked through it with the other counselors and some of the medical staff. And what they did was, the next morning, there were 175 counselors, campers, and medical staff on the Olympic-size field down each side of the field. And Kevin and Bill were at one end of the field, and Bill said, Kevin, you have 2 rules. When I say run, you run. And when I say stop, you stop. And Kevin ran so fast that day that no one could keep up with him. And he ran until he just couldn't run anymore. He ran so fast that the other campers started calling him Lightning. And when I heard the story, I had tears rolling down my face, but it struck me to my core. And I realized I'm going to have to start playing full out. And that's the day that I went back and I started creating a nonprofit of my own. And one of my first projects was to figure out a way to provide some type of assistance to Camp Boggy Creek. And we identified a specific project for Camp Boggy Creek, and we have filled that for 4 years in a row now. And we've grown to help about 6 other nonprofits in the Central Florida area. But I've decided that I'm not living half in, half out anymore. And it's amazing. My wife and I have decided we are going to start helping other people live all in for their lives. And we are working together to create programs to help people live their best lives. And you can't live your best life half in and half out. We only get one life. And you have to make the most of it. There's no time for regrets. It's a beautiful life, and the universe has everything you could need in it. And when you're working with the universe, it will give you everything you want out of it. And we are relishing in the joy that we are getting from working with people and helping people. And by helping people, it is giving us so much in return. So I hope that you get struck by lightning and you develop the passion to live all out every single day. And as my grandfather said, boy, do I have enthusiasm, which is just optimism and enthusiasm for every day.